You're listening to the Behind Ears podcast, because everybody does Disney differently. The Behind Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support. Hey everybody, it's Mr. Chris, and I gotta tell you about Expedition Roasters. Listen, I'm a pretty big coffee drinker, just like a lot of you are, but these people have got coffee right. Their coffees are made from selectively sourced premium and specialty grade Arabica beans. They provide the absolute best flavor and aroma, and select roast even come directly from a single estate farm for a truly perfect cup that is never bitter. They've got awesome Disney-inspired flavors such as Roundhouse Roast, Route 66, Skipper's Brew, Dark Side Roast, Redhead Rum, and one of my favorites, Bobsledder's Brew. Listen, if you want to have the taste of Disney in every cup, give them a try today. ExpeditionRoasters.com, and Behind the Ears podcast listeners gets an extra 20% off your first order by using the coupon code EARS20. That's right, EARS20. And you can find them over at ExpeditionRoasters.com. Brew your happy place. If you have a little one and you're going to Walt Disney World, you're going to need a stroller. I'll tell you what, KingdomStrollers.com is the place where you want to look into. I'll tell you, I've destroyed my fair share of strollers while at Walt Disney World, and those things are not cheap. But getting something from KingdomStrollers.com, they'll be able to help you pick out the perfect stroller for you. And the nice part is that because they're a Disney preferred provider, they'll be able to drop it off and pick it up right from your Disney resort at no extra charge. So if you don't want to necessarily destroy your stroller in the process and you want to have a great Disney vacation with your little one, contact KingdomStrollers.com and they'll set you right up. That's KingdomStrollers.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Behind Ears podcast. I am your host tonight, Mr. Chris. How's everybody doing today? Hey, listen, Uncle Danny is experiencing technical difficulties way beyond his control tonight. In fact, he's probably listening to the show live going, oh, this is just killing me. As some of you may know, he's been experiencing a lot of different technical problems with his machine, and he really hasn't had a chance to look at it with a lot of depth. So we're just going to kind of give Uncle Danny a little bit of a pass tonight so he could try to get his machine in working order. So that basically means that you've got time with me tonight. Ha ha! I get to do whatever I want. Now, some of you are probably wondering about the Indie Disney meet from this past Saturday. I'll just go ahead and tell you that Danny and I had an absolute blast. We loved meeting a lot of really awesome people, and really, we could not have done it without your support as well. It has been said that the Indie Disney Meet raised over $40,000. I thought it was $43,000 for Give Kids the World Village, and man, that is absolutely fabulous. But being that Danny is not here, I don't really want to go into too much detail about the meet because he and I experienced it in a slightly different manner, only because we were doing everything from working our table to walking through the crowds, talking to people, looking through the different merchandise that was going up for auction. And, it was just one of those cases where there was just so many things. But I want to give a shout out to Nick and Jess and my wife, Kathy, who really, honestly, did so much for us over that whole entire day. It was just amazing on the kind of representation they added to our table, because while Danny and I were able to go and meet different people and raise awareness for the show, as well as encourage people to, do things with the silent auction, etc. It was just one of those things where, they were taking care of the table while we were doing other things, and then they would go walk around while we're at the table and so on. It was purely a team effort. And, I got to tell you, we'll definitely give out more shout outs when it comes down to it. As I said, I really want to share this experience with you as well as Danny at the same time, because there was just so much that happened. There were so many cool things. It was just an amazing, amazing weekend. So why don't we go ahead and instead of talking about the Indie Disney Meet, let's talk about a couple small pieces of news. And, I gotta be careful when I say that. Do I want to call it news? There's just some rumors have been going around. And I really kind of wanted to touch base on a few of these things because some of them are not really rumors because we've kind of expected them. I mean, they're not like new pieces of information, but, some interesting things are coming up. So here, let's go ahead and hit on a couple of them. First off, I thought it was kind of interesting that while I heard a couple different things that the new Disney streaming service was going to be called Disney Play, there was actually a retraction, so to speak, or an update to that particular article that I post over at the WDW community page, where basically, I guess the article misconstrued what was said. I guess the name still hasn't really been announced, at least at the time of this recording, but I gotta be honest with you, I'm a big streaming fan. I think it's really cool. Yes, I'm a Netflix kind of guy. I'm a Prime Video kind of guy. I even have Hulu, which is really cool, because I'm a cord cutter. I have an antenna in my garage that picks up all of our local stations, and I use a TiVo to do all my DVRing. In fact, my TiVo is awesome because it also consolidates Netflix and Prime Video and Hulu all into one interface. It's really super cool. So there were a lot of people that were saying all across different Facebook pages that they're really looking forward to this new streaming service. And being that they're saying that they're going to try to make it competitively priced, even so much as saying that it may even be lower than your typical Netflix subscription rate. I'd like to know from our audience tonight, if you care to join me in the conversation via the comments section, as to what do you think about this sort of thing? Because I, for one, I'm always up for a good deal. And I'm always up for good content. And I love Disney's content, not just because it is Disney, but because back when they first announced this streaming service, they were talking about how it was going to include anything from old animation to the old TV shows, the older movies, and so on and so forth. It's like having, supposedly like having an entire Disney library at your fingertips. Now, are they going to have that at day one? I don't know. But it sounds very interesting. I know I've paid more for less. Like one of the things that I paid for was the CBS All Access for a while. And it's okay. I got to use it for a little bit. I mainly got it for Star Trek. Was it Star Trek Discovery? As you could tell, I even paused because I couldn't even remember what I was actually subscribing to it. And Star Trek Discovery wasn't as good as I think my son and I thought it was going to be. For more Orville people, to be honest with you, at this point. So, I've obviously spent more money on less content, and I'll be honest with you, even with cutting cable all out, with the exception of my internet provider, of course, the fact of the matter is I'm still way, way ahead. Prime Video to me is just a nice little perk to having Amazon Prime, because I do a lot of Amazon shopping anyway. I've been a Netflix subscriber probably since they came out, which has been really, really cool. Even back when they were still mainly focused on sending DVDs out. I like Hulu because it has a lot of the network stuff, backlogged and so on and so forth. So what is the Disney streaming service going to buy me? Or what is it going to buy me, I should say? The fact of the matter is, as I said, I like really good content. I like a good movie. I like some of the old Disney Channel original movies. I liked when, the Disney Channel had Walt Disney, where they would bring some of the old Disney animation out. I thought that was so cool. I remember one time many moons ago, probably had to be 15, 17 years ago. You know, it was a rainy Sunday afternoon watching, you know, really old cartoons on the Disney Channel. It was great. And then like late at night, they would bring out the really old stuff, the black and white, the Steamboat Willie era, and that sort of thing. I just thought that was really, really cool. So I'm really hoping that the Disney streaming service would actually bring back some of the joy that I had in watching some kind of Disney TV. The Disney Channel itself, now I'm not a part of the real demographic. I'll admit it. I still like it, but the fact of the matter is I'm not the real demographic for it. And that's okay. At least I know it. I still like to watch, like, you know, older Phineas and Ferb and Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls was something I got into right as they were, you know, getting rid of it. I just thought that was so funny. My son got me involved with it. I just laughed all the time with it. It was just pretty funny. So, what do you guys think? Do you guys have an opinion? Is a Disney streaming service something that you're going to be looking into when it finally comes out next year? And if you think about it, we're knocking on the door of September. Next year is literally right around the corner. I mean, we have 4 months until the end of the year. Holy cow. I can't believe it already. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think about that? It should be kind of interesting to see what it comes up. Price-wise, I'll be honest with you. Is price going to be a big differentiating factor? I think it depends on the content. I think it depends if they are going to have, you know, is it just going to be a streaming version of the Disney Channel? Or is it going to be something of all of its own with categories and easy to find search, etc.? Those are the kinds of questions I have. So that's the kinds of things I'm thinking of when it comes to that sort of thing. So let's move on. One of the other things that came up was the rumor that, Spaceship Earth was going to get a rehab, so to speak. And that in itself I found to be pretty interesting. And there was here's the thing, though. We knew that was going to come up, right? I mean, it's been around for nearly 11 years in its current format. Was it 2007 or 2009 that was last refurbed? Either way, let's call it a decade. It's been around a decade where we switched over from Jeremy Irons to Judi Dench, and the interactivity of, you know, the last part of Spaceship Earth as you come down from your time travel. And I'll be honest with you, Spaceship Earth is one of those shows, one of those rides, one of those attractions that I truly enjoy. And part of it has been because of the narration. Part of it is because of the story. Part of it is because, you know, it's just a really neat attraction. I mean, so many lines have come out of that particular attraction, such as, you know, remember how you learned your ABCs? Thank the Phoenicians. And there's even a hat that says, you know, if you can read this, thank the Phoenicians. My son has it. It's an awesome hat. And the idea of, you know, going through Rome when it, you know, during when Judi Dench says Rome falls and you smell that burning wood smell. It's one of those cases where, you know, you definitely think of that, especially if you go around a campfire, you're like, wow. You know, I've realized something, though. I'm going to go back for a second. Because all of a sudden, all the comments finally showed up. So I'm going to go back because some people had really good comments about the whole Netflix thing. No, I don't have a cold. I will say that. I don't even really have any allergies. But it is one of those things. I don't know why it sounds off. It could be my microphone. I don't know. But Let's see. Let me see what we got here. Amazon Prime has Bosch, and Mary likes that. Kevin's got a Roku. I got a Roku, and I use Fire Sticks as well. Yep, I agree. I hope it also does show the old shows, Belinda. I think it's one of those cases where if it doesn't show the old shows, I think that's kind of a miss. But you know what? They may not come out with those right off the bat, but maybe they will come out with those, after a short period of time as they build their library. It's one of those cases. I'm from the Midwest. Yes, I am. That is true. And so is Belinda, it seems. Black Panther is coming to Netflix in September. Very true, and I can't wait to see that again. I've been waiting to see it again, and I am going to get the Blu-ray of that, I'm pretty sure. But I really do want to see it. The Kurt Russell old Disney movies. Yes, it's true. People don't realize that Kurt Russell started out in Disney movies. In fact, the first movie that he was in was a movie called Follow Me Boys. And that was, I still haven't seen it. My son has it. My son had a disc. He watched it last summer. And of course, we can't find the disc now. So, and the Silly Symphonies, I totally agree. Mary mentions that she liked the Lizzie McGuire and some of the shows around that time. That's actually pretty funny. I remember Lizzie McGuire. Used to watch Lizzie McGuire with my daughter all the time. It was really funny. It's really kind of interesting. Anna mentions, that she'd rather watch her Disney movies on DVDs than Netflix. I'll be honest with you. I am a physical media kind of guy. I do love streaming for convenience factor, but if I really want to enjoy a movie in my theater, I will put in a DVD or a Blu-ray. It's as simple as that. Better picture quality, better sound quality. I can pause it a lot easier. It's all out better in my opinion, but streaming still has its place in this world. It's one of those cases. Paula mentions that she hopes that they show the Disney nature videos and the old wonderful world of Disney with Walt Disney. Agreed with both. People don't realize that the Disney nature videos are really well done. And I'll be honest with you, I have seen them streamed and I've seen them on Blu-ray, and they're a whole lot better on Blu-ray. Much clearer picture, especially since they do such a fabulous job with doing the nature shots. The wonderful world of Disney, you know what? I totally agree. I would love to see some of those again. That would just be really pretty cool. Christine says she's getting on Pirates right now. I guess that show is now going to be rated R. Sorry, bad joke. You have that candle. Which candle is that, Kevin? So I guess, that's, now I see some of the comments are talking about the whole Spaceship Earth thing. So let's see what we'll go back to that now. It's one of those things. Carol actually brings up a really good point. She loves Spaceship Earth. It's a great walk through history and appeals to the senses. It does. There's a lot of things that I think that we take for granted when we go to Epcot, and that's the fact that there's a lot of edutainment, educational entertainment that's there. And there are some people that learn a lot of things by going to Epcot. Is it a replacement for school education? Of course not. But the fact of the matter is that things that go on at Epcot really help influence the kids of today. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and brag a little bit. My son is doing his Eagle Scout project, and it's a compost that he's building over at his middle school, at the middle school that's in the community. And he got that idea through recycling and composting ideas found at Epcot, especially over at, the Land Pavilion. Now, he raised money, and now the school's going to be able to do its own composting. So Epcot in itself has a lot of edutainment, and Spaceship Earth is also a big part of that. Let's see. I just want to throw this out. Melissa mentions that's a Disney era where I watched Lizzie McGuire and Phil of the Future with my goddaughter and niece when they were growing up, and now they are in their 20s. And the funny part is that now those people that were in those shows are like old adults now, doing adult roles, big adult roles. It's kind of funny. Steve says I sound like I'm in the witness protection program. Not this week. So let's see. Carol also mentioned that she loved Good Luck Charlie. I remember that. Let's see. Kevin mentions he watches opening day Disneyland about once a year. Oh yeah, that was actually really cool. So the thing is, though, back with Spaceship Earth, is that I think they're going to have to do a few different things. And by the way, I do apologize, bouncing back and forth a little bit. I do think that they're going to have to do a few things with Spaceship Earth. The ride track itself is obviously going to stay the same. It's as simple as that. It's not going to change. But the ride vehicles, they're not going to change either. They may do something different with the interactivity part to it. There's talk about how they're going to have different projections, at that very last part where you're at the very top of Spaceship Earth. But we'll have to see what that includes. And also, they're obviously going to have to change the interactive part because of a different sponsor. They'll probably have a slightly different theme. They'll have probably a different narrator. All those things are going to change. Now, for the past few years, I've noticed that every time I've gone on there, they've cut my head off or something like that with the, finding your picture, so to speak. My head would always be like, or something like that. And it wouldn't look like me. It was actually pretty funny at times. We always laughed because it wasn't really as important as getting a good picture as it was making sure that I had a picture whatsoever instead of the generic person. That was actually pretty funny. Now, with the sponsorship of Siemens ending, they've already started kind of pulling out the Siemens name for the post show. And a lot of people say that the post show has needed some work for a while. Although, I'll admit, the post show is one of those things where, up until this past year, we really didn't do a lot with the post show. But we actually spent some time there. My son did some of the games and stuff like that, and it was quite fun. I hope that they kind of reimagine that a little bit so it makes it more fun and educational and entertaining at the same time. I think they can add in something like that. The funny part is, I remember when Spaceship Earth was basically sponsored by AT&T. And there wasn't much in that post show. In fact, one time I remember there was nothing there except they had this, basically it was a telephone booth, but it was a voice activated telephone booth. And it was one of those funny things where they let you make a free 3-minute phone call. And so we're like, okay. So while we were there, I think we called probably my mom and my mother-in-law. And it was really cool because we basically spoke the numbers and it dialed it for us and it connected and they were able to hear us really well. Now, mind you, that was, more than 10 years ago. And there was a lot of things that changed since then. So who knows? But that's kind of cool. They're going to end up changing it. Who knows? The speculation is going to, there's going to be speculation galore about, who's going to be the narrator. I put something up like who should be the narrator question over at the WDW community page earlier today. And there were some really good suggestions. Of course, there had to be someone to put James Earl Jones. No, wait, no one put James Earl Jones. I was thinking of James Earl Jones. I was going to put that down. Someone put Morgan Freeman. Because, let's face it, Morgan Freeman does a lot of that sort of thing. And what was it, the Lego movie? It's like Morgan Freeman can basically, narrate the phone book and have it sound fun. Someone mentioned Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think someone wanted to put this down, but they misspelled the last name. Someone put Emo Phillips. And if anybody doesn't know who Emo Phillips is, just look him up. His stand-up comedy from the 80s was actually really pretty funny. It would actually be kind of cool. Someone actually Tressan was really cool. She's like, "You should do it, Mr. Chris. You should narrate it." I could do that well. Let's put it this way. Like a grand adventure. Oh wait. Like a grand adventure. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Give me the script. I'll do it just for fun. Albert Wong, actually. Albert, you basically mentioned Gary Sinise would be good. I like that. I like that idea. Gary Sinise, I think, would be really good as well, but I still think his better role was over at Mission Space. I like Gina Torres, don't get me wrong. That role was made for Gary Sinise. That's all I'm going to say about that. What can I tell you? So, in any case, those are the kinds of things that I was going to talk about today. We're just going to do a little bit of a short show. And I'll just tell you, we don't normally do a lot of things regarding rumors and hearsay. But we do like to talk about speculation. Because you know what? Speculation is fun. But we're not sure what's going to come up of it yet. It's just one of those things. But Gary Sinise does not do Mission Space anymore, Kevin. That was taken over. That when Mission Space went through its revamping, the pre-show is now done by Gina Torres. And in case you're wondering who Gina Torres is, she was in the USA TV program Suits. She's not there anymore. She left a couple seasons ago, but she was part of the TV program Suits, which is one of my favorite TV programs, I might add. So, all right, I'm going to start winding down here. I'll go ahead and take any questions live from our audience that you would like. Let's see here. Mary asks, what about the Artist Point character meal? And I don't mean to, I'm going to say this with sarcasm. What about it? The interesting part to it is and I'm asking you just because I want to know what your 2 cents is, Mary. But the reason why I put it like that is Artist Point is a place where I've always wanted to go. But let's face it, it was rather exotic for most people. One of the things that I wanted to try their venison and stuff like that, but it wasn't something that was appealing to my wife, so we never really did go. But making it a character meal, obviously, that changes the whole scheme of things. Here's the thing that I would have to say. It probably wouldn't be something that I would actually partake in, but I kind of wish that they would have kept it to be a fine dining type of establishment. But here's another thing to think about. They wouldn't have changed it unless Artist Point was actually doing really well. They wouldn't have just, let it go to a character meal if for some reason, if it was really doing well. They probably changed it for several reasons that we don't necessarily know. We'll have to see what kind of characters they bring to the table, no pun intended, but we'll have to take a look at it. I know there are people that really liked it, and they're not happy with the change. I would have to say, hey, instead of Artist Point, then go try the Yachtsman Steakhouse over at the Yacht Club. Oh my gosh, that was a fabulous meal. Absolutely fabulous meal. I totally, completely enjoyed it. So we'll have to see how it goes. Unfortunately, I really have no opinion because I didn't get to try it. So I will tell you this. Between this and there was also the news about the Sammy Duval Water Sports Center closing, it kind of brings up one point that I want to make before I continue. And that is this. Never assume that something's going to be around for your next trip. I've said that before on the show. Never assume that something is going to be around for your next trip. And that can mean anything from something you want to buy, something you want to do, something you want to eat. Because you don't know what's going to change. The fact of the matter is that Disney is an always changing place. It's never going to be the same experience. And that includes things that we don't get to do. I've always wanted to go parasailing with my daughter. And we just have never gotten around to it. Now it looks like I might not be able to do that. we'll have to see what goes on. The idea that, again, artist palette. I'm not going to be able to, artist point. Obviously, I want to say artist palette because I go there all the time over at Saratoga Springs, which is a really good quick service. Never made it to artist point. I'm going to have to just kind of live with it. There's nothing I can do about it. But if you have a chance to go and do something, especially if it's something new, on any of your vacations, I think you should do it. Give something new a try. I know that we always like to try the tried and true, things that we love to do. We love to go to the parks. We love to do our favorite attractions. But if you haven't tried something before, consider doing a trip where you put a focus on the things that you've never tried before, whether it be dining or an attraction or going to a resort or going to stay at a particular resort. Those are the kinds of things that makes Disney unique. But we just all have to remember that it can change. It can change at a moment's notice. Who knows? Jessica asks, what did I have for dinner? Well, it's Tuesday. So that means I had tacos. Taco Tuesday. And it was good. So Mary did say that she wanted to go to Artist Point, but didn't make it. She does go to her old favorites, but she had a reservation once. Kevin asked, any days on the Skyliner opening? Nope. No date. No real date. It's not going to be for a while. That whole thing is going to have to take a long while still. And, everybody wants to know, but they're not releasing any dates for it yet. So, Albert, you're staying at Boulder Ridge for the first time in January. How is it? I love it. I mean, Boulder Ridge is just new name for the villas at the Wilderness Lodge for DVC. Stayed there last summer, as a matter of fact. And I stayed at a 1-bedroom that was on the top floor. And it was such a cool experience because the ceilings were vaulted a little bit differently, and the balcony was had a nice little cover over it, overlooking the pool. I really like it. I've always liked the Wilderness Lodge. I've always liked the Wilderness Lodge villas there too. Basically Boulder Ridge is just the new name for it. Haven't stayed at Copper Creek yet, but Boulder Ridge has always been one of my favorites. The pool there for Boulder Ridge wasn't completely done when I was there over the summer, but it is done now. And it's really a whole bunch of fun from what people have told me. I really wanted to try it. So I'm looking forward to the next time I stay there. Let's see. Mary was also mentioning Chico as possibly an alternative to Artist Point. That's another restaurant I haven't been to. I've wanted to, but again, my wife isn't really too much in the whole spicy bit. Same thing for my son. My daughter and I would be all over it, but that's okay. We try some different things instead. Jessica says she loves the Yachtsman. That's just really cool. But, it's one of those cases. Chris, I'm sorry you missed the show as well, but that's okay. Catch up on it tomorrow. It'll be there. So, it's like, I like Mary's attitude. Do it if you can, as it might go away, and you could miss it. Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you just have to, kind of roll with it. Let's see. Kevin, your last trip of 2012. Yep. Time for another trip. I know you're going to be going up there shortly, which is really awesome. I really hope that you have a fantastic time. Let's see. Let me put this up on the screen. It's a little bit to read it. Carol mentioned that she attended Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party with her daughter and granddaughter opening night on the 17th of August. It was sold out, and I was very happy we had tickets. It was great, and boy, did we get candy. Ate it at Casey's Corner, woohoo, and thought of me. Awesome. Thank you so much. Had a great time. I got a picture of my 7 dwarfs friends. It was a blast. Carol, thank you so much for sharing that with us. That is just way cool. I knew that it was... Yeah, I saw a lot of pictures from that opening night, and it was really cool looking, and I'm really glad to hear about that. So that is just really, really cool. my friend. So Jess went to Water Street Brewery, which, by the way, is in downtown Milwaukee, and she thought about me. We were talking about the Water Street Brewery in Milwaukee back from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Boy, that was a good conversation. Let's see. Mary was also hoping to get DVC tickets Thursday morning for the Hollywood Studios event in September. Good luck, Mary. I hope you're able to. I think it's those are just getting harder and harder to get, if you ask me. Kevin asks, how many tours have I done? Just one. I've done the Behind the Scenes tour, and that is such a fantastic tour. It's a great starter tour because it's only half an hour long and it's not that expensive. Being that my son is only of a certain age, he really can't have. I won't let him go on some of the other tours that I really want to go on, and I guarantee you, when he becomes of those particular ages, we're going on more tours. It's as simple as that. Paula asks, do I think Star Wars opening will be bigger than Toy Story opening, and is there a date yet? Late fall 2019 is the only type of date that Disney has released so far. And if you think about it, that can mean all the way up until December 20th, if you think of seasonal fall, that is. So, who knows? It's going to be sometime late next year, but nobody knows yet. I mean, if anybody claims that they know, they don't know. It is going to open sooner over in California, but for Walt Disney World, late fall next year. Do I think it's going to be bigger than Toy Story's opening? Oh, yeah. I guarantee you, Paula, it is going to be bigger. It's going to be bigger. I really want to be there for opening day. I'm going to be honest with you. That's going to be a real big challenge. I guarantee you that if I was there for opening day, I will certainly enjoy myself no matter how crowded it is. It's just one of those things. So I think it's going to be, when I say bigger, I'm sure they're going to have a pretty big bit of hoopla. I'm hoping that they get the hoopla down so that, general guests can actually enjoy it and not just for a press event. I think that that was a big difference on when Toy Story Land opened on its Saturday. There wasn't a whole lot of hoopla because it was already taken care of during a press event. But I do think it's going to be huge. It's going to be a big deal, and there's going to be a lot of people that just are diehard Star Wars fans that are going to wait for days in order for it to happen. I will say this: I think they did a fantastic job with how they handled Toy Story's opening. I think they did a great job. I think it was absolutely, just a great way that they did it. I think they learned a lot of things, and I think they proved that they did some things right. And I predict that they will continue to do those things, continue a plan accordingly. And yes, crowds will still be insane crazy, but I do think that they're going to plan it out properly, and it's going to be great. Let's see. Mary's also going to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party in September. That's really, really cool. That should be really fun. Let's see. Mary, she also says that Keys to the Kingdom is a great one. Yep. The only thing is you got to be 16. My son's not 16 yet. The train tour was nice. Carol mentions you go before the park opens and you get a pin, lots of info about the trains. I would like to actually do that one. I think that would actually be a really cool tour to do. I think that's cool. I like trains. Trains are kind of cool. So does my son. In fact, we like to go to the Museum of Science and Industry just to watch the huge train set over there. I know it's early, but sometimes you just have to do it. So, Kevin, you are doing Behind the Scenes tour during the trip. One thing that we did, which was really cool, is that our tour for Behind the Scenes was the last one of the day. And the people that were supposed to show up to go along with us, they didn't show up. So we had basically a private tour. It was supposed to last like a half an hour-ish. And the cast member just hung out for about an hour with us. It was awesome. It was completely awesome. So Belinda says, I think I am in for a cruise. I'm glad you think that. I'll just go ahead and tell people now, because we kind of alluded to it before. we probably are not going to do a cruise anytime soon. We're going to probably plan a meetup somewhere at one of the parks or at Walt Disney World in general before we actually do a cruise. Finances are kind of one of those things that we have to take in consideration. And Danny and I talked about it while in Disney. And right now, we're just not sure. I think we would like to grow into the idea of having some meets first before getting into a cruise. We certainly appreciate there were a lot of people that did actually express interest in a cruise. We really super duper appreciate it. At the same time, we think we need to kind of build that up. I think we would like to do something at the parks first. Something spread out over a few different days, some small things throughout a couple days. Because we just think that it would be better just to kind of start slower. Sometimes you have to take some baby steps before you can run. But we, again, certainly appreciate that, Belinda. Really do. If you're still interested in a cruise, feel free to contact Danny. I'm sure he will help you out by picking up the greatest cruise that you could possibly pick out. Carol mentioned behind the scenes tour was great. She'd love to someday retire and work in Epcot's garden. That would be kind of cool. And the Mickey-shaped pumpkins, Carol mentions. So it seems like, even Wendy mentions that she'd like to do the train tour and Keys to the Kingdom tour, excuse me. Both of those I think are just, really fabulous. I've had a lot of friends do those other ones, and I'd really like to do it myself. Let's see. Okay. Well, I'll take only a couple more questions if you have them. I really appreciate everybody tonight just enjoying a solo show. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Danny is able to join us at all for tonight, and that's okay. But we'll be back on Thursday. I think once he's able to get his machine up and running, we're going to have a little bit better luck. We'll just have to see. And the funny part is that only up until about 2 or 3 minutes before we went live today, I was having issues with my machine because I had to reconfigure the whole thing in order to go live at the Indie Disney Meet. So I had to figure out, how did I do this? So, yeah, that was quite fun. So I'll tell you what, I think what's kind of interesting is that every day is different. Every show is different. We always like to say that we're live, unedited, unscripted, and sometimes it's just that way. So why don't you take just a quick moment and listen to this.
You heard the show, and we hope you want more. Well, feel free to join us over at our social media platforms. Instagram and our Facebook page can be found at Behind the Ears Podcast. Our webpage is behindtheearspodcast.net, and our email is behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @BehindTheEarsPC. And come and join the conversation about all things Disney over at the WDW community page. Don't forget to rate and review the show over at iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as it really helps us get the word out about the show. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or the Podbean app. Also, you can listen to us on Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and via Alexa and Google Home.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining me tonight on this solo episode. I haven't done a solo episode in quite some time. Danny and I talked about solo episodes while we were in Indianapolis. We both agreed that they are harder to do than any other type of show. But I'll tell you what, hey, I wouldn't want to miss meeting with everybody here live on our show and basically sharing it with all of our podcast listeners. Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. Really super appreciate it. And I'll tell you what, until we meet again, I hope you have an absolutely magical day. Take care.